So yesterday, Dr. Israel talked about checking in. And he walked you through how to check in on the treatment pyramid. I want to drill deeper into the treatment period and talk to you about how you can check in using the CANs. Okay, so let's take that, the top of the treatment pyramid, the goals, right? Because it was level of care on one side, diagnosis on the other side, strengths in the middle, and at the very top of the pyramid is goals. So let's talk about that. All right, so what can we do to check in? So this is a story of Jason, who's very depressed and angry. He's made a suicide attempt, a serious suicide attempt in the past. Like they had to do life-saving measures to save him. And he's currently contemplating suicide. So how do you check in as a parent if this Jason is your son and this is his goal? So the first thing we want to talk about using Dr. Israel's structure of the treatment period is the long-term goal, right? That's the top of the list that he provides you. Is suicide watch, which represents suicide, right? This is where Jason feels like giving up. He's got suicidal thoughts. Is this still our goal, right? This is depicted as red, meaning it's a 3. Is this still our goal? If this is still our goal, right? If Jason is still feeling like he's might hurt himself, then this is still our goal. If Jason is not there anymore, guess what? We might be done with this goal and we need to talk about that. Okay, so let's check in on the long-term goal. There are usually short-term goals that we have to address to get to that long-term goal. So what is underneath Jason's suicidal ideation, right? He's depressed and he's angry. His depression showing up as sad, he's withdrawn, he's disengaged from friends, from family. He's angry, he argues, he fights physically sometimes with people. He's destructive, he destroys things, he punches holes in the wall. He doesn't know what to do with his anger. Okay, these things we feel like if we were to address them would help him not be suicidal, right? Here's the long-term goal, here's the short-term goals. Okay, long and short is relative, right? Because you don't want your kid suicidal for very long. So this could be like something we're working on for a month. What are the interventions and supports? So we're checking in on the long-term goal. We're checking in on the short-term goals, right? These are orange because they're rated 2 on the CANs. Here are the intervention supports. Individual therapy, is that working? Is it helping address the depression? And we identified some strengths to build, right? We realized that the 6 strengths in Idaho that showed the most impact on reducing needs were things that would be applicable for Jason in this situation, right? So we want to build back strengths in family, that Jason's not withdrawing from family, but working, looking to family for support. Is that helping? What are the things that were put in place to help build that strength? And interpersonal, Jason's withdrawn from his friends. What can we do to help him be able to reach out, even though he feels weird and he feels like no one likes him and he's been such a jerk to his friends? I don't know how to re-engage, right? What have we done to help him build that strength back up to address his depression? Okay, maybe we had Jason go to group therapy to address his anger, right? Like to realize that other kids get angry too, they struggle too. What are some things that we can do to connect him with other kids, but also help him, right? And how can we, let's say Jason had a great relationship with teachers at school and was very engaged in school before all this. How can we re-engage him? So let's check in on long-term goals, short-term goals, interventions and supports. And at every step, let's figure out during this reassessment, if everything's still working, if we need to change anything. Let me stop and see if there are any questions or reflections on this. I have another example like this.
Okay. Here's one that just popped in. Can those short-term goals be my son's long-term goals?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
Absolutely. Right. Now you notice here the long-term goal has to do with safety. right? So we have to deal with that first. Now, we might be able to reduce the suicidal thoughts for Jason, but still need to work on his depression, right? So then depression might be the long-term goal, and we might be addressing something else as a short-term goal. So these things can move and change. That's why that theory of change is really important.
Okay, that's very helpful. I'm just going to add the further comment from same parent. For interventions and supports, we just have OT. He goes to school, so he gets time away. Music therapy, these are not enough. And what she's referring to is that he is at home destroying property, yelling at parents, body checking parents. So the ultimate question being asked is this something that I have to put together as a parent? I mean, is it like, does help exist, or is this something I have to figure out?
I think help exists, and the way that you can continue to prod for more help is to use the actionable items on the cans to show how intense the needs are for your child, right? Like, look at how anger control is rated if you have the cans. If you don't ask, how is anger control being rated for my child? And where else, right, is it showing up on his cans? Because I don't feel like this plan reflects the story of what's happening to my child. It's a great example to sort of walk through this.
Mm-hmm. So we also have a question, who does this planning? When is this addressed? Is this part of the wraparound process?
This is part of the wraparound process. This particular type of plan might be done by the mental health person addressing mental health issues as part of the larger plan of care in wraparound, because, you know, wraparound can cover many areas. This is more typically a mental health kind of perspective. The other one I'm showing you will be similar, more developmental, but this one's mental health. So if you have a therapist, they should be doing this. The care coordination, the care plan can also reflect some of this, but maybe not as detailed. And you should be part of this, coming up with these, especially the interventions and supports. That's why we ask what's worked before and what hasn't, because it might give us a clue as to what might work now, right? I was talking to a colleague last night who lives in New York, who's a psychologist also. And she said, one of the things that telehealth has opened up that we're trying to solve, because, you know, I'm licensed in certain states. I can't work as a psychologist in Idaho because I'm not licensed in Idaho. And that's an equity issue for telehealth, because if I have particular expertise, right, in working with, let's say, Filipinas, because I'm Filipina, and there's someone in Idaho who can't find a Filipino therapist to work with, they should be able to work with me, right? So this is an issue, right? If you have a child who has a specific need and there's no one else, they should be able to find that need and get that need paid, get that support paid for, so that things can continue to move forward. And telehealth is opening some of those doors.